A farewell is necessary before we can meet again. And meeting again, after moments or a lifetime, is certain for those who are friends. Richard Bach.
Hi, everyone, and welcome back to Easier with a Friend. We can hardly believe it, but we have reached the end of season 2 of this podcast. We're your hosts, Chi
and Elaine.
And today is our big season finale.
Yes, we have been so blessed to spend time with you, our listeners, for almost 2 years now. It's time for our scheduled summer break, but we thought we would have some fun discussing summer plans and just wrapping up the season. So starting off, Chi, what do you and Tony have planned for the summer while we are on break?
Yeah, originally we had talked about all the places that we wanted to travel to this summer because, again, COVID is, at least for the foreseeable future-ish. I'm not sure how far I would describe the future. I would say for the foreseeable next few months, looks like it's a bit calm out there. Okay. Uh-huh. And so we had wanted to fit in a bunch of traveling. Like, right. We thought about maybe taking the girls to Washington, D.C. to see the White House because, you know, at their age, they're currently 6 and 8. They're really interested in the American history and the founding fathers and our current president and all those historical places. And we thought it would be really fun for them to be able to go see the Capitol. But my husband literally just got a new job that he's starting this week. And so we're not sure how much time off he's going to have to be able to do some of those big trips. So we're adjusting our travel plans to maybe shorter weekend trips or somewhere closer to home, driving trips and things like that. Yeah, so I'm readjusting my expectation for the summer in terms of our travel plans. But the other fun thing is that we do have family planning to come visit us again this summer. So it's always exciting to see them. So that always feels like a vacation, even though it's at home. And my family is always so much fun to just hang out with them. What about you? Any plans to travel this summer?
Well, so I don't have any big summer travel plans yet, only because we just came back from vacation. My husband and I went to Bora Bora last month, and it was so much fun. But of course, a trip like that, it's just a really big trip. While it's very relaxing and stuff while you're there, the travel part is pretty tiring while you're going. So I'm thinking in this latter half of the year, Nick has not been to Vancouver ever. Oh. And I have family who lives there. And so I've been to Vancouver a few times, but I thought he would really enjoy getting to see it. It's one of my favorite cities.
Same as me. Yeah.
Yeah. And he's a big outdoorsy guy, you know, having been an Eagle Scout and all of that. So he, I think, would really like how the city is set up because I feel like in Vancouver, whenever I visit at least, and I'm a transient visitor, not a permanent resident, but whenever I'm there, I feel like it's one of those cities where you definitely feel the bustle and the energy that it's a big city, but also nature seems closer there than in other big cities I've necessarily visited.
I know exactly what you're talking about. They have this very chill vibe.
Yes.
And it almost feels like it's because of how naturally beautiful their city is. And you can just feel nature all around you. And it gives everybody this chill vibe. So I'm like you. I went doing a more summer month. And so we're not talking about the bitter cold of Vancouver. Right. I don't have personal experience with that. I imagine it can be brutal. But I think Nick would enjoy it as a summer travel destination to be able to go to Vancouver. When I went during the summer, it was just so gorgeous. And they have so many of those outdoor farmers market that you guys would love because there are so many little things you can eat. And I remember that was one of the places where we went to a park. And this is what I'm talking about. You go to the park and it's just filled with people, but not to the point where you feel like it's overcrowded. Because, you know, sometimes, especially when you live in a big city, you go somewhere and it's just so crowded. It's just too much, right? But there is a huge park. You go and I remember taking a nap just on the lawn of the park. And it was just so good. It was one of my favorite naps. Tony and I, my husband and I, talk about it all the time, how we napped in the park in Vancouver. So I highly recommend going to Vancouver. It's really fun. I think you guys will enjoy it.
So part of the reason I'm thinking of doing that this summer, aside from travel plans, my brother is moving back to Houston. They won't be actually moving until probably September, October, which is both far away and also right around the corner.
And it's good for them too, because they basically get to avoid the summer months in Texas.
Yes. Start them out more gently, right?
Yeah,
because they've been in Seattle a while now. And it's funny because I told Nick that he's lived in Seattle like 5 years now. And maybe because my mind is resigned to him living in a separate city, I'm never like, oh, I cannot wait until I get back up to Seattle and see him, or I can't wait until his next visit. We talk all the time. My brother is one of my best friends, truly. So I don't ever feel like, oh, it's so long until I see him. We see them on FaceTime a lot now that we have my niece too. And so he doesn't feel that far away with modern technology. But now that the idea of him actually moving back to Houston is real, and also the house they contracted on is literally 5 minutes from our house. So because of that, I feel like September is so far away. Like he just can't get here fast enough. And yet I know you'll just blink and it will be here because we actually have a lot to do in that time. Since they're not down here, being able to see their house being built and all that stuff. And of course, we work in the home building industry. So we're going to spend the summer kind of going by and checking up on the house, making sure things are being built properly. We actually went by and walked it yesterday on our day off. And then, of course, I will be helping them pick out finishes and stuff. Not like me, myself doing it. They'll be on FaceTime, but again, they're not here to see them in person. So when we do their upgrades, I'm going to be looking through all the different coloring and tiles and all of that with them. And so we'll be doing all that.
They are so lucky because you and Nick are the perfect couple to help with all of this because you guys are in the industry. Oh my goodness. How lucky is that? And the fact that like, you're going to be 5 minutes away from your niece. Aren't you excited about that? That's so awesome, right?
So yeah, it was really interesting because we didn't get to see her. Like she was like 1.5 the first time we ever met her because of the pandemic. It made me really sad, I think, because I felt like I was just missing all of her formative years. And even though we see her on FaceTime, she doesn't really recognize us through the screen,
Yeah.
Like it's not the same. But I mean, when she looks back, she will not remember a time before me, which will be actually super cool.
Yeah. I think that's so awesome. I mean, like I said, for me, having my family visit is going to feel like a little extra treat. So I can only imagine how it feels to finally have your brother move back, because sometimes you take for granted having family close until you don't have it. And then you realize how much they bring to your life.
I totally agree. And I'm very fortunate because my husband, Nick, is a very family-oriented man.
Yeah.
And I mean, I don't think I would have married a guy who wasn't now when I look back on it, because despite the fact that I sometimes try not to be, I'm a very family-oriented person myself. And by that, I mean, sometimes I try to escape the responsibilities of having to always hang out with my mother because my brother is in Seattle. And while I love my mom, there's only so much time you can hang out with your parents before it just becomes kind of like, I must go home now. So you stop making me feel like a 12-year-old. So I'm excited. She's excited. My mom is over the moon. I'm excited for her, honestly. I'm excited for me because now I won't be the only family she has in town. And so it'll diffuse the hangout time. But well, all of this as a very roundabout way to say that since my brother is moving home, I feel that if we visit Vancouver sometime this year before they move back, then they will probably drive from Seattle to meet us in Vancouver. And that will be kind of fun. So I have that kind of on my mind as a maybe. We haven't finalized any plans, certainly. But so that's a possible travel trip. That was a very roundabout way to go about that.
I totally get it. It's fun though. So moving on to other things you may be doing besides possible travel plans. Mm-hmm. Do you have any shows or books or anything you're into that you're looking forward to?
Oh my God. I don't know if you've watched this because we actually have not discussed this show on any of our chats, I don't think. But I recently binge watched season 2 of The Bridgertons.
Oh, okay.
On Netflix. Are you watching The Bridgertons?
No, I have not seen season 1 or season 2.
Okay, so here's what happened with season 1. I watched 2.5 episodes of season 1. And then I was like, fuck this shit. Skipped to the last episode to find out what happened and never went back and watched season 1 again.
Okay.
So I'm also terrible at binge watching shows. So it surprised not only myself, but also my husband, who woke up at 2 a.m. to find me still watching Bridgerton on our TV in our room. So shocking to him, in fact, that he watched Bridgerton just to see what the hype was all about. So because I binge watched season 2 of the Bridgertons, I started reading the book series.
Oh, okay.
There are 8 books in the Bridgerton series. I blew through 2 yesterday.
We're talking about summer. You gotta stretch it out for the summer, Elaine.
I know.
We're gonna run out of books before we even hit June, okay?
I know. You would think a series of 8 books would keep me occupied for a lot longer. It's not true. She knows. I read very fast anyway, but also I just will not put it down. I binge read all day yesterday. I binge read while doing laundry. I binge read while eating food. I had the TV on at one point as background noise and binge read through the TV. Well, obviously I'm reading that series, but you're probably right. It might not make it all the way through the summer, but sometimes when I'm in the middle of new book series, I read it so fast that I'll go back and read it again, slower, the second time. So that may happen this summer. What about you? Anything else besides travel plans for the summertime?
Yeah, I think because the kids are out of school, most of my plans get changed. Or I guess my daily routine changed a lot when they're out of school versus when they're in school. So during the summer, I rebuild my whole routine around them being at home with a lot of homeschooling stuff. But the exciting or the different thing we're doing this summer is that we want to really give them a good head start on learning Spanish this summer.
Oh, okay.
My husband is a Spanish speaker, but they definitely are a lot more comfortable with Vietnamese, but they're right at the age where I think they will be able to pick up a new language quickly. And with how comfortable they are now with online classes and taking Zoom classes, thanks to the pandemic, we are going to get them some instructors that can basically be their Spanish tutor for the summer. And so I'm really excited about that because that's one of the parenting goals that my husband and I had for the kids when we decided to have kids, really was to make sure that we teach them the language. Because, in terms of just how the world is nowadays, it's good to know as many languages as you can, especially when that's part of your culture too, right? And then the other thing that we did last summer that we really, really enjoy, and so I'm doing it again this summer, is the outdoor gardening. And we started our seedlings already. We're hardening them off right now. So we're really excited. I think we're going to actually plant them in our raised garden bed in 2 weeks. But yeah, that's pretty much going to be my summer. A lot of my summer is going to revolve around the kids because they're home. And it's also really interesting though, because they're young enough where I remember life with them before they went to school full time.
Right.
But I've also really enjoy having them in school. And I don't know if there are any parents out there who can relate to the excitement you feel to have your kids home for the summer, but also the slight
trepidation.
Yeah, exactly. About how much activities and how much energy is going to take to keep them entertained for the summer.
I totally hear you. I can't say I totally understand. Have not had to do that, but I hear you. I think I would be nervous if I had kids who I was facing the prospect of 3 months with no school. What are we going to do with all of this time on our hands? But it's funny, last year when she and the girls did gardening, she would send us her progress pictures, basically oh, this is my cucumber and soon it will be ready for harvest. And then when she had her harvest, she would send pictures of her harvest, which was actually super fun to live vicariously through them. I don't think I'm as green thumb, desire to plant things as much as she does. And as far as other summer plans for us, besides travel and stuff, I have been seriously wanting to purge my house for some time now. And this is an ongoing project, so it's not exactly like a summer project, but I think that my goal is, now that the podcast is taking a summer hiatus, that I think I'm going to dedicate what normally would be podcast time to purging.
I totally support that. I love seeing people declutter their house.
Oh my gosh. I have been watching all these decluttering shows for inspiration. So I recently have been really addicted to Get Organized, which is that show on Netflix from the home edit team. And I love the way that they organize. It's almost decorative when you look at it afterwards, right?
Cool.
They always do that thing where they tend to place everything in rainbow colors, right? So in the gradient of the rainbow, which I think is just really soothing and really pretty at the same time. Of course, I'm also like, I'm not about to go buy different colors of items for my pantry just to have the color to put in my pantry. But it does give me some inspiration for what I'm reorganizing and a way to kind of put it all together. So we shall see. I'll check back in on that at the end of summer. We'll both check back in, see how the summer went, how the harvest went, how the purging went, how the house is going, all of that. So we have had a blast, but we've reached the end of Easier with a Friend for today and for this season. We want to thank all of you, our devoted listeners, without which this would not be possible. If you had fun with us today, maybe take the break to catch up on any episodes that you may have missed. Remember to subscribe to the podcast on Facebook, Spotify, or Apple Music so you won't miss when we return in the fall. Follow us on Instagram at Easier with a Friend, on our Facebook page, Easier with a Friend, or email us at easierwithafriend@gmail.com. Check out our website, easierwithafriend.com, for today's transcript.